I didn't want to burn out. You have folks where, and I call it, they quit but they stayed, or they quit but they didn't tell anybody, or, they retired but they didn't tell anyone. So all of a sudden you see, everything that's like just done super half-assed and stuff. And I didn't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that's going to use his whole ass.
Yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Totem. Today we got a special guest with us, like always, but we got Erick here with us.
How's it going, guys? Just make sure, like always, to make sure to subscribe to the channel. Give it a thumbs up if you like what you're hearing, and if you want to be notified every time we have another guest on, just hit that the bell to be notified every time we do. But yeah, man, pretty excited to have our guest on for today.
Yeah, so I think everybody should be or should know somebody that does something like in the field he does, because most of us we interact with one or we own one. And so today we got a home inspector with us, Brian Baltazar. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you, guys. It's good to be here. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Thanks for coming out, early in the morning, hanging out with us. So
Absolutely. I'm unusually focused in the mornings, so.
Yeah. Well, that's good. But for the people who don't know, like, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and like what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've got a pretty cool thing going here with the three of us that, we're all from Fort Morgan. And so I grew up just down the road in Fort Morgan. And, ultimately with the way I got to getting into the actual home inspection business was I was one of those folks that was part of the Great Resignation when COVID hit. So, I was in the financial sector and I was there for about 22 years and then exited the financial sector. We're coming up on a year. It was September 24th was my last day. September 24th, 2021 was my last day at this job that I was in. And so founded the company in October, got my license and certification through INTRNACHI, which is the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors, and they're based out of Boulder. So I got my certification from there and then went live in January. And some quick context for okay, why did I choose this and how? You always kind of start with the why. So I think it was probably about December of 2019. I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable with the trajectory of my personal and professional growth. We're all in charge of our own personal and professional growth. And so, hey, what am I going to do if I were to do something else? And there's three things that people absolutely positively got to have: money, food, shelter. So I was in the financial sector, so I already did the money part. And then the food part, I was just like, I don't think I can go down that path and work in, restaurant, bartend, whatever. It just wasn't as appealing to me. So I'd always been tinkering and do-it-yourself kind of thing around the house. And same thing with my parents and then also other family members. So I started to dig into that a little bit more. And as fate would have it, my cousin Kyle Hernandez started his own home inspection company, Holdfast Home Inspections, and he started that in December of 19. So the timing was just, perfect. So I called him and just started pinging him with questions. Like, okay, how did you choose this? What did you do? Because you were bartending before. So how did you end up going over to this? And, similar to me, he was tinkering and, like to do it yourself kind of thing. So as I started asking him more questions, then I went back to our home inspection that we had on our house that we're in right now. Started digging into that a little bit more. Started nerding out and watching Holmes inspection, Mike Holmes. He was also a big influence. He has a show, it was out of Canada, and I think it's on HGTV. And he would just go in and inspect homes after these folks had already had an inspection and then had purchased it, and there were a lot of things that were missed, So that really helped, because then it gave me an idea of, what do I need to look for? How do I train my eye? What are the questions I need to ask? And then if I'm talking to you, Monico, or I'm talking to you, Erick, what's going to be the most relatable thing to be able to deliver it to you. Because you guys are both intelligent guys, but if I start saying, yeah, well, it does this, 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 and this,
Yeah,
well, that
the
doesn't help you.
The technical stuff, you're like, yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not a home
Yeah.
inspector. I don't know the terms like you guys use. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or like that's what it is, but like what does it actually do?
Yeah, and why is it that way? You know, and is it functioning properly? So that really helped me big time. And then probably, I want to say it was in March of 2020, just a few months later, I made the decision. I'm like, yeah, I want to do this. You know, had the hard conversations with my wife and my kids and things of like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And then just made the decision. And then boom, COVID hit and everything shut down. And I was just like, okay, I can't do this now. I can't, you know, potentially start this business during COVID, because now everybody's going to be trying to build an airplane in the air to figure out how they're going to get from point A to point B, whether it's, you know, personal, professional, or whatever. So I use that time to do more research, do more networking, talking to friends that had their own small business. And it didn't have to be necessarily related to home inspections or real estate or commercial real estate. You know, I wanted to talk to folks that were outside of that, just so I have a better idea of what am I going to get myself into here. You know, and what does that mean? And then also just went out to a network of realtors, then, you know, talked to other folks that were home inspectors and getting a better idea there. So that way, when I was ready to pull the trigger, I'd have a pretty good idea of, okay, this is what I want to do and how I want to do it.
Yeah,
And
you were
then-
pretty well educated already before you just dive
yeah,
in.
absolutely. So yeah, I didn't want to take a, for lack of a better phrase, ready, fire, aim approach.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, there
So
you go.
yeah, because it's a big deal. I mean, it's, you know, a wife, 2 kids, a dog, and we've got our lifestyle a certain way. So I just didn't want to disrupt anything too much there. So
No. Okay.
So that's interesting what you're saying, because you're saying you had like a wife and kids and stuff, and you were in the financial sector for a while, for like
22 years.
22 years. So like, what made you kind of like step away from that, or at least like start looking to other options?
Like
Yeah.
what kind of triggered in your mind, or just like, I don't know if I want to be doing this?
Because like COVID, because you said like during COVID is when you made the jump, but then you were saying like you started doing research before even COVID hit.
yeah, absolutely. So the big driving force, you know, with wanting to make the change, and you know, like you heard me say about I'm in charge of my own personal and professional growth. Well, part of it was I didn't want to burn out. You know, you have folks where, and I call it, you know, they quit but they stayed, or they quit but they didn't tell anybody, or you know, they retired but they didn't tell anyone. So all of a sudden you see, you know, everything that's like just done super half-assed and stuff. And I didn't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that's going to use his whole ass. That's why I got it. But you know, seriously though, that was a big part of it. Was I didn't want to burn out, and then on top of it, you know, as I get closer to retirement, could I start a second act and just start it now? And so and I think Erick too, what helps from that question is, you know, I really enjoyed helping people and having that satisfaction that you get from helping folks. And then just even earlier when the 3 of us were outside talking and just, you know, hey, you can do this to fix this and these different things, to where you can kind of see a sense of relief. Like, because it's your house, Monico. So like on your face, just seeing that sense of relief of, oh, that's all I need to do? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
easy.
Or
I'm
oh,
not-
that's what that's for.
Yeah, and yeah, this is what this does, and this is why you want to keep it, you know, open and that type of thing. So, and then the other thing too was, you know, with folks coming into it, and you know, they'll have some anxiety, and then I can provide at least a calming presence, and you know, be a differentiator that way in terms of, I'll tell you what's good, I'll tell you what's good about the home, and we'll talk about challenges. So with the career change, you know, a lot of times you didn't get to really see a finished product per se. Well, I've already got the finished product here, and here are some things that, some potential bargaining chips that you can play as a buyer. If I'm doing it for, say, a seller, to be able to let them know, hey, this is you want to fix this because odds are you're going to have somebody catch this, and then this would be a bargaining chip for them. So it'd be nice to just be able to say, hey, these things are done. So it was a different way to go ahead and try to satisfy a need, so to speak, and be able to just interact more, and then just get out of the office as well. So
Yeah.
Being able to get out and use your hands.
yeah, absolutely. And then, get on roofs, that kind of thing, where when I know it's, obviously I won't if it's not safe, but yeah, that's always kind of fun. Get a little bit of an adrenaline rush there.
Yeah, different types of roof is like steep or not steep. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But what you were saying is like you were saying, have the bargaining chips, because for most
Right.
people it's going to be their your slogans like protect your biggest investment. So it's like for most people it's going to be the biggest thing that they buy, the most expensive thing they buy. So it's like it'd be good to know what works, what doesn't work in it, because you're gonna buy it. But I kind of want to go back a little bit towards when you were talking about like the hard conversations that you had with your family.
Yeah.
Because I think that's very important, having someone in your corner, like your family, your kids and your wife, to be like, yeah, let's do it. We support you. Especially like you're saying, you start feeling financially stable, but you're not emotionally, or I guess, stable.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
was that like?
You guys with your, we'll meet. I'll get to meet your parents a little bit later, but your parents have had hard conversations with both of you at different times, maybe even at the same time when you guys were younger and you're fighting.
Yep. Plenty of those times.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The big thing there was, with the kids, my wife and I were just really giving them like kind of the Cliff's Notes on life. So a lot of what we do and what we say, then that's kind of be their baseline for how they're going to communicate, how they want to carry themselves, and that type of thing. So try to be just as transparent as possible. So having that conversation with the family was, look, I'm not really satisfied where I am right now with my career. And what I'm thinking about is going down this type of path. And because we all know that everybody needs a roof somehow, some way, even if it's the mini homes, or if you're living, traveling like a lot of people are with a fifth wheel set up and we're working remotely, and then, I want to move somewhere else, but mostly for those single family residential units, condos, townhomes, that type of thing. So just laying it out to them of, hey, here's what the issue is. Here's what I think we can do to solve it. Here's what I'm looking at and thinking about doing. And then also here's the time frame. And so then that all changed, because of COVID. But the questions that the kids had were really good, like, okay, what's going to change for us? What does that mean? Do you still get to come home for dinner? Some of the practical stuff like that. And then, what do you think that's going to do in terms of for the amount of money that you're going to have and make, and do we have to make any changes there? So just being open and honest and taking care of those things that way. And then, having their support. And then once they saw like what I was doing, how I was doing it, then there was a little bit more curiosity.
Did you feel like kind of when you're having that kind of leads up to all this? Because like us as parents, we tell our kids, like, yeah, you can do this, you can do your dreams if you work hard, but then you kind of feel, I don't know if it's the right word, like you kind of start feeling like a fraud, because I'm telling them to do the stuff, but then I'm not really comfortable where I'm at. So then you're just like, okay, I'm going to do that. So
yeah, so having that real conversation, it's just like, well, I want to go to Mars. Like, okay, well then let's watch The Martian real quick. And you kind of get an idea of, okay, this is what it means. This is what it looks like. This is how it could potentially happen. Nobody's going to Mars right now, but if you were going to do it, how would you do it? Yeah. And then start to just dig a little bit deeper and research into things. And obviously with that transparency, just being real and authentic with them, and just saying, hey, here's some of the ebbs and flows that happen. Here's some potential roadblocks, hurdles, that type of thing. So being able to communicate effectively to them as we have pretty much along the way for them has definitely helped big time. I think you guys have it over here with with being honesty and transparent.
Yeah.
On the wall here, it's those. I look at that, and that's like the Inceptions Media core values.
Yeah.
So really, that's kind of what we're getting at here a little bit too. For me, it's crisp communication, sound judgment, positive impact to work. Things that not only you can do for a business, but things you can do in life. And then those are underneath those comes all kinds of other. Where you start getting into the weeds a little bit. So with the kids, they were pretty good about all of it. And then at the same time, we were also very realistic about different things with them. And as they're starting to grow and make decisions for themselves for their interests, we're just straight up honest with them about that. Of okay, then you're gonna have to do a little bit of extra work for this if you want to get there.
What about with you? What about with your wife? Because if you, when we take that leap, it's with a business. I think we're being a little naive if we think you're gonna blow it up in the first or second year. So it's like she might have to carry more of the weight, maybe financially or with the household stuff. How was that conversation with her?
Yeah, that was so yeah, we talked about that, and then continue to talk about it pretty much either 2 to 3 times a week, and it has to just primarily do with scheduling, and then hey, I've got this going on, and so more than anything, just the communication and keeping that open. And she's been super supportive. Also, has taken on an extra day of her work that she does for her profession, and working from home is what on that 4th day. So that's super helpful. So then that way we have somebody if we need to. Our son's old enough to drive, so he can drive our daughter if we need to. But more than anything, wife's just been super supportive. And then what was really great was that she has just awesome ideas. So I'll have an idea, and then I'll share it, and then say, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? What if you said it this way? I was like, oh,
I think they say 2 minds is better than one.
Yeah, absolutely. So
she can see the holes or the positive stuff in it. So
yeah, and I specifically ask, hey, shoot holes in this. I mean, why wouldn't this work? And just be brutally honest.
Don't tell me why it's good. Tell me why it's bad.
Yeah,
I need to know the bad, because I already created in my mind it's gonna work, but it's like, tell me and it's good because sometimes different people see with different lens. So
yeah, and she's would be the consumer too in this instance where she's taking on the role, say, of the buyer or the realtor. Of what? Okay, Brian, what's in it for them? I've heard her say that. Like, what's the benefit for them? Why would they want that?
Yeah.
And then I have to kind of pause for a second and, okay, I didn't ask myself that. And I just said, always start with why.
Yeah.
So I have to take my vitamins on that.
There you go. It keeps you good, because it keeps you educated, because you got to be like, if they do this, like, you got to be ready.
Yeah, and we were doing it. The 3 of us were doing that outside. I just call it dialoguing. Where you were saying, okay, Brian, this is why this is this way, and then you hear me saying, okay, why do you want it that way?
Yeah.
What does it do? And boom, you're right there. You start thinking.
Yeah.
So but you guys run into it too. I mean, when you go to a wedding, and you're talking to the folks prior to, hey, this is normally how we shoot things and do things, but, is there anything that you want us to zero in on? Is there anything, like what time are they going to have the father-daughter dance, or, all that stuff, like a lot of the tactical things that you guys do. Does that sound right?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's the details. It's the little things that make the big changes, I think. So it's the little detail stuff.
And you're the camera guy, so what kind of questions are you asking those folks?
Well, I mean, we both like handle like
Okay.
filming and depending if we're doing like just video or photo and video, it's just kind of depends. But like throughout the day, like, hey, if there's something you want us to focus on, or is there anything you want us to pick up, just pull us aside and then just tell us real quick so we can make sure we get that.
Mm-hmm.
We're just like on the spot, kind of flying about because like we've done it quite a bit, so we already kind of know what they would want more of.
You've met with them prior to and
Mm-hmm.
laid things out. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, I guess just that conversation with everybody just so we can make sure we're all on the same page. Because then the worst thing is like you go to give them like the finished product and they're like, this is not what we wanted.
Yeah.
So it's just like the whole communication beforehand, just making sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah. There's some correlation between what you guys do and I do because when, I usually get the request from the realtor to do the home inspection, and then, hey, you know what? Erick's going to be calling you, Brian, here in about 15 minutes about doing the inspection. So then, Erick, once I get you on the phone, I'll just start asking you a few questions. Because once you start talking, then I'm winning and being able to provide better service to you. So, and like you guys do, I'll ask, hey, is there anything you want me to focus on? And some folks are like, well, I just don't want the place to fall in on me. It's like, well, that's fair. I do inspect the structure. Yeah. So, we'll take a good look at it when we're out from the street, and then we'll go in there and this is what I do to inspect the structure.
So give us like when you do a home inspection, give us like the things that you do go through. Just for like the person that doesn't know.
Oh yeah. So for everybody out there, the big thing with the home inspection is, kind of what I hang my hat on is that I'm inspecting the home as if I'm inspecting it for my wife, our 2 kids, and our dog. So safety is the utmost priority. And, with that comes the big thing is moisture intrusion. So if any type of water, snow, what have you can get into the home, not only can that bankrupt you for the cost, but then it could literally kill you because of mold. So generally what I do is, say for example, on a home, I'll look at it from the street, and then as soon as I drive into the neighborhood, I start looking at all the other houses. Is there anything that's telling me there's a problem with the siding or the driveway cracking, or, do other folks on the street have a radon mitigation system, which is that pipe that comes out of the side of the house that you'll see and goes up, but it's not a rain gutter. It's not part of the drainage system. So I'm looking to see what if homes have that. And then as soon as I pull up to the home, just taking a look at the structure from the street, do a couple things to clear it to make sure everybody's safe, and then start inspecting from the outside. Get on the roof, look at the siding, look at the structure on the exterior, look at the drainage. In Colorado, as a lot of folks know, that your electrical panel, where you have all your breakers and all your switches, is outside. And that's pretty much by design. And you'll find it in Arizona as well, because the climate's so dry here. So if you had it, say, in the home, well, there's not a lot of humidity in the home.
What about with houses that do have them inside?
That's still fine to have it inside. I encountered a home in Aurora where the main panel was in the garage, which was fine, because you're still going to get what you need to there, so it's not super dry. But the big thing there is, with looking at that panel, and it's called a dead front, but in plain English, that just means it's the cover. So I'll take the cover off there, and we'll look at all the wiring that's in there. And
now that you're just talking about that, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But it's like
it happens all the time.
How there you go. So how dangerous is it for somebody? You have something go off, and you're just like, you go to the brake and you just flip it. You just keep flipping it, and it keeps going back. You just keep flipping it, because that happens to all of us. I think we just keep flipping it, like, God damn, this thing doesn't stay. But there's probably something not right going on, right?
Right. Yeah. And what you want to do at that point is contact an electrician. But for me, from my standards of practice that I have to follow, that I go and I look at that panel and there's a switch that's off. Well, I can't turn it on. because I don't know what would
what it
happen.
is.
And then on top of it, it's off for a reason. So let's have the seller disclose why. Or I've had a home that I inspected where the breaker was turned off and it was taped over. So then nobody could turn it back on. And it was the breaker that was for the master bathroom where they had a jacuzzi tub. So it's like, why is that turned off?
It's gonna overflow. It's gonna blow up.
Yeah, exactly. Like what? So we need them to disclose that. So whenever and being a home inspector, I'm glad you asked this question because I'm primarily like a generalist. So in other words, when you go to your primary care physician, right? And look, Monico, I don't want to sound any alarm bells, but we need to have your heart checked. So I'm going to send you to a cardiologist and refer you. So, let's flip it a little bit. So Monico, in your main panel, I found that you have some burn and scorch marks in there. So do you have a good electrician that you rely on? Okay, no problem. Let's talk to your realtor. They may have one. I've got one. But yeah, we've got to have you get that fixed.
Sort of like the home doctor, pretty much the home.
Yeah, so just being that generalist that way, with being able to say, okay, look, you got to go to an electrician or a plumber, and then, kind of speculating a little bit, if you have that breaker that just keeps tripping, it could be that it's just not getting enough power, or that breaker could be defective. So then, hence you want to have the electrician take a peek at it.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's it.
Yeah.
So a lot of most of the home inspection, I guess, do you do for homes that are going to go on the market or something, or do you do just in general?
Primarily, it's when people are under contract and they're the buyer.
Okay.
And then I've done a few pre-listing inspections because it's kind of nice to do that when you're a homeowner, so you're not surprised.
So you know what you're.
Yeah.
So you have the ball in your court before it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I inspected our house that we live in now, and and I looked at our old inspection too, and then I inspected it and was just like, oh, we've been living here and that's been like that. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna fix that.
That's crazy. Huh?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's good practice, though. Just start with your own house and then see if it's
right. Because you just, I mean, like and putting Monico on the spot here a little bit, like when I walked up and started just looking at things and brought it to your attention, you had that that moment. So when it comes back to full circle here with what I do on the inspection is once I'm done with the outside and I've looked at that electrical panel, put it back on, and just so it's important that folks know too is that I'll wear a body cam. So that way I have everything that's being recorded. And so if we need to go back to it and refer to it, we can. And then on top of it, God forbid, we encountered somebody that's squatting in the home and I've got the buyer with me. Well, I want to make sure that buyer's physically protected and then make sure that we get whoever we need to that shouldn't be there, get them out of there. It hasn't happened yet, so knock on wood. But I always do that and for safety purposes. And then I'm taking pictures, a lot of pictures the whole time, even video as well. The biggest thing that I want to do, with that is make it super easy for realtors. And then on top of it, also for the buyers to know when they have a deficiency that I'll take the picture, I'll mark it up, or I'll have a video. Then I also in the report will have the specific language that's associated to that deficiency and recommendation. So that way it makes it easier for the realtor to just copy and paste the language into the objection notice and objection letter. And then they can also grab the picture too, or grab the video.
Yeah.
Do
you have any crazy stuff on your video, or people have accused you of doing certain things while you're at the home that you've had to use the body cam stuff?
Nothing, no accusations yet or allegations too. But I have had somebody kind of misrepresent what I said. And so I went back to the body cam and just listened to the audio on it. I was like, no, that's not
Say,
what I
roll
said.
the tape. Let's hear it.
Yeah, exactly. And, with that's definitely helped big time. Cause then also if I need to look at something that I may have missed, but once I'm done with the exterior and I've looked at the structure, cause I'm looking at the foundation too, then I'll move into the home, come down to the basement, finish up looking at the structure. If there's a crawl space and I can get in it, I'll get in it. The attic, get in there for structure as well. If I can get into the attic, I'll do that. And then from there, just start inspecting the interior of the home with the plumbing, the outlets. I'm looking at the outlets right now, and then also the light switches, then the HVAC. So making sure that the furnace is working properly, and then also that the AC is too. Also, just more than anything, it's material defects, safety issues, safety hazards is primarily it. With if you had a little bit of paint chipping on the wall, well, is that due to there being moisture leak, or is that just because you hit it with something? So if you hit it with something, then that's just simply cosmetic, and I don't note that.
So like with I'm kind of going back to the body cam. Is that like a requirement for home inspectors, or is that you just going a step further beyond for your clients?
That's me.
Okay.
It's all me. I got the idea from this guy that helped with the sewer scope certification named Jim Crum. That he had said, look, all of my inspectors wear a body cam, and it's a good thing because last week we had a dog attack one of our inspectors, and he got it all on the body cam. So
did the dog get him pretty good?
You know what? He didn't elaborate.
I wouldn't want to show anybody.
I
I wouldn't want to show anybody like, dude, this little
chihuahua,
this little chihuahua got
over
me.
here. Yeah,
He had me cornered.
Yeah, but it tore out my Achilles, man. That's a thing. So yeah, but yeah, with that body cam, I just chose to wear it, and and here was why. And as I've talked to other folks too, of just like, you may want to wear it, just or even if it's not in a home inspection, but you're doing an appraisal, or you're like you guys, if you're when you're out and about doing things, you may want to have it. I'm trying to remember, there were trades folks, like with plumbers, electricians,
But they're in the homes and stuff. Huh?
yeah, or even on the exterior, because God forbid something happened where you got hurt, and you need to be able to provide that information for insurance or for a claim or something like that, then you've got it. And just like people that are Uber drivers or Lyft, where they'll have a dash cam.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
It's just better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy. Like I think,
Agreed.
the way stuff has gone, that, like, yes, we have to like look out for ourselves. Have a body cam and stuff like that. But it's because like society, how people have gone. They just want to. They'll get anything to try to sue you or try to accuse
cheat the
you.
system.
Try to
Yeah.
accuse you of stealing something. It's like, it's crazy that you.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, that's why it's good that you take the measures to be covered.
Yeah,
Just in
and I'm
case.
glad you mentioned that too, because it's also for theft. Because if I do have a buyer that's with me, and you have an iPad laying out on your desk, or they have an iPad laying out on their desk, and then buyer didn't touch it, I didn't touch it, it's there when we left, and then all of a sudden we get accused, of saying, hey, you guys took that. It's like, no, we didn't, and I've got the visual and audio to prove that we didn't, kind of thing. So, but haven't encountered that. The one thing that I would caution folks though is, and it's not so much for a body cam thing, but it just made me think of it because we've got our cameras on us, is that for when you're going to look at a home, when you're the buyer, or even when we're there for the inspection, watch what you say, because folks do have internal cameras. You've got Alexa. You don't want to trigger Alexa. And then
Alexa knows everything.
Exactly. And then, some folks have interior cameras. So whenever I talk to folks and I have different things for them to say, we'll just step out of the home, go away from the driveway and things, because you have cameras.
I didn't even think about that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, I get it with your safety and wanting to be, cautious and things, but we also want to be cautious too about what we're saying and where we're saying it.
So like,
Yeah.
we kind of talked a little bit about it before we started like filming and stuff. But like, do you stay up to date with codes?
Oh, good question. So, with being a home inspector, I'm not a code inspector. So you've got, say for example, so we're in Wiggins, and Wiggins. Let's say that this is part of the town of Wiggins rather than unincorporated Morgan County. So when you wanted to go ahead and add a sub panel to your home, so odds are what you're going to have to do is get a permit from you would hire an electrician. They're going to do it for you. Then they'll likely get a permit from the city of Wiggins, and then they'll have to post it. And then they're going to know the codes because, as an electrician, whether you're a journeyman, master electrician, they're generally up on all the codes, and the codes change. And what I've encountered a few times is, and I reached out to my master electrician, and that's why I'm mentioning this, is that I think it was maybe in 2016 where all the new builds had to have arc flash circuit interrupters for breakers. And then I think it was in 2020 where you had to have a surge protection device. So I kind of knew these just because of the fact that, okay, it's coming up, and then, all right, I saw it on a few other reports. I saw it on the InterNACHI forum. So, I don't put specific codes in the report. And so I'll refer people to an electrician because they're more up to date on the codes. But if there are major things that have changed, we got to make sure that I'm doing it in a manner and a fashion that's for awareness and to be able to let folks know about that. But I don't necessarily go out and I'm the code inspector, because after the electrician, installs everything, then you may have like somebody from the city of Wiggins come out and inspect, that they'll schedule it's a building inspection kind of thing. So I don't know if Wiggins does that, but what I've encountered with different inspections that I've done, where I'll go into, like for example, in say Centennial, I'll go to their website, enter in to their government website, go to the building specific one, and then enter in the address for the home that I'm going to inspect, so I can see the permits and see if they've had what's been done on that home. And if they got a new roof in 2016, okay, then it should last for a while, right?
That's good. That's part of your like due diligence before
Absolutely.
you just go and blind it and get.
Yeah, and I give that and I attach that to the report, so that way the owners or the buyers will have it, and so they're aware of it. If there's anything electrical done, they had this done and it was done in 2018, but I know that in 2016 this was supposed to be in there, so I'll make sure and note that. So it's a slippery slope for a lot of us home inspectors where we're not saying code in there, but once we're aware of it, we definitely will try to mention it in a massaged way. So yeah, good question.
So you kind of just like, if something really seems like out of place and like maybe it's not, then would you recommend them like getting like a code inspector just to make sure that it's all?
Yeah. So like we were mentioning earlier, where I would just say, Erick, for that particular, with that gas leak, you're definitely going to want to get a plumber. And then, we can faintly smell it right now, but yeah, we shouldn't be in this room. So you need to have a plumber come out and take a look at that right away. And then that's where that plumber could say, look, the code has changed a bit. We now use this yellow piping that almost looks like an accordion, and it gets away from using that old iron pipe for gas. And so it's a little bit more flexible. That's what we're using these days, and that will take you right up to code, that kind of thing. So when you get into those trades professions, They're the ones that really follow the code because they have to be up on it for their continued certification and being able to renew their license. And so for me, for home inspectors through InterNACHI, I have to do continuing education, as things change and evolve, that, okay, this is what we need to be looking for. And, homes that are being new builds, they have these type of specs now. So, or there's a new material that's out there that's being used. So like the one that I encountered, haven't been on one of these roofs yet, but there's this stuff that's called F-Wave, and it's a shingle that's kind of petroleum based, looks like regular asphalt shingles, but it's a bit more durable. And you can't get on it when it's wet because it'll just be like a slip and slide kind of thing. But that's
Unless you want to slide all the way down.
yeah, there's a pool strategically there. Yeah. So, different things like that you need to be aware of new material or something, or what to look for.
Yeah, you just kind of glossed over it, but correct me if I'm wrong, but not every home inspector has InterNACHI, right?
Right.
And you don't have to, but it's not like as easy, I guess, to get because you have to keep up to date on your education.
Yeah.
Too.
So in the state of Colorado, you do not have to be certified and licensed to be a home inspector. You could just go ahead and go out and do it if you wanted. And then there's another outfit out there called ASHI, the American Society for Home Inspectors, I think. And they have a similar program. No, they're similar to InterNACHI.
Okay.
And you can get a certification through them. But the good thing about, the benefit that I had was, all right, I'm coming from 20 plus years in the financial sector, and now I'm going over to this. And in the financial sector, I was used to having to do continuing education because of all the different licenses I had through FINRA, which is one of the regulators in the financial sector. So I was just looking at this of, okay, well, not only does this make me more appealing to realtors and then also to buyers, but with getting that certification through InterNACHI, but then additionally, it helps with the training and how to train your eye and the questions to ask and like, okay, how do I know it when I see it?
Keeps you sharp.
Yeah. And then we have to do the continuing education there and fulfill those requirements. So I was already used to that anyway. And okay, great. I can do that. It keeps me sharp. And then, there's some folks that they have such a tremendous background already with construction, or being a general contractor or things, and they'll still get certified through InterNACHI. And, those are the folks that I love chatting with too, because then I can, break things down a bit and lay it out, and they'll be able to totally understand exactly what I'm saying and the question that I need to have answered. So, it's definitely a tremendous asset. And a lot of the realtors that I've encountered, they'll ask me, are you certified and licensed? And, I can say with confidence, yes, I am. And here's how and here's why. And then here are the other services that I offer that I was certified through. So.
Yeah, you kind of already answered my next question, but it was what sets you apart from other home inspectors?
Yeah, that's a real good question. Thank you. The big thing is with the approach that I have with inspecting the home as if I'm inspecting it for my wife, our 2 kids, and our dog. That's one thing. So safety being the utmost priority. The other thing is that separates me quite possibly from other folks is that, not only do I do the home inspection and you get the thermal infrared that goes with that, so at no extra charge, but I also do sewer, wastewater line scopes, indoor air testing for mold, radon testing, and I am certified and licensed to do that by the state of Colorado because that was something that just changed July 1st of 2022.
So you have to get licensed to do radon testing also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got that, and then
which is pretty big, right? In Colorado, like radon in Colorado?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll come back to it here in a second with the radon thing. And then the last thing is where I'm certified to do lawn and irrigation inspections. So really trying to be a one-stop shop for realtors and for buyers. And the big thing, we had talked about this in detail before we jumped on here, but with radon, it's a really super mysterious gas. It's there's no smell. It's not visible. It comes through the soil, and basically the quick science nerd out part of it is, it's basically from uranium that decays over time. Then it becomes radioactive, and it becomes radon and radium. And so, how we have a sump pit in here, that's likely where the radon's going to enter the home. And so, what the state of Colorado said was, look, we passed this bill in 2021, and it's going to be effective July 1st, 2022. So, we don't have any bad actors out there that are giving the wrong information, because what's worse than no information? Wrong information. Yeah. Saying that it's safe and it's not. So, once that happened, I had to go through a few hoops. I had to get certified by the National Radon Protection Program, NRPP. And that was a process of, okay, we've got to pay them this amount of money to be able to take this test. And so it's a pass-fail kind of test. And then once I did that, and then also jumped through the hoops that I needed to with the Department of Local Affairs, and then I think it was also DORA, the Department of Regulations that we have for the state of Colorado, and show them that I got my certification, pay them, then boom, I'm licensed. And so now I can say with confidence that yes, I can do this, and the reporting that we have to do and the measuring we have to do, the Environmental Protection Agency is on board with it, because that's what they look for, is that certification through the National Radon Protection Program. So I'm good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had talked about this too with the whole radon thing, that it's the second leading cause of lung cancer for folks, with smoking being the first. And we were talking about, I let off with it's mysterious, because for you guys at home that you can't see this, but right next door over here to Monico's place, the home has a mitigation system. And so Monico had a radon test here when they bought the place, and didn't need it because it didn't trigger. That had to be over 4.0 picocuries per liter, which basically means, you have 4 particles in, say, like a liter of air, for example. But that's when you need to get the mitigation system, and you guys don't have it here because you probably tested below. But these folks didn't, and that's just right next door. So I see that a lot.
Just because no one in your neighborhood, I guess, has had it doesn't mean you don't have it, I guess.
Right. Or just because they've got it, you don't have to rush out and get a mitigation system if you haven't got it tested. Why would you want to get a mitigation system if there's no problem?
Yeah.
And because once you get a mitigation system, then you're saying, okay, we got a problem, and you may not.
Yeah. Don't fix it if it's not broken.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing you've seen on an inspection when you're doing? I don't know if it's classified or that.
No, because I won't tell you the address.
Okay.
I won't tell you the address. I won't tell you the buyers. I won't tell you who the sellers are. So I'll start from the outside. So probably the roof. Where in the roof where you come to a corner, and you've got the gutter that's right down below. And so I encountered where at a roof where the shingle was bent backwards, because you have some flashing there to keep all the moisture out of the home. And you could see it from the street. And this was a brand new build. And the folks had moved in, and the builder, they'd done the walkthrough, and that was just sticking out like a sore thumb. So it was sticking up like this, and there's a hole right underneath it. That's right where water can go, right in there. That was really weird. How on different roofs, how you'll see those vents that are coming up, they look like a plumbing pipe that are coming up out of the roof.
Yeah.
Well, that's supposed to have a metal type of material, whether it's aluminum or steel, and that's called flashing, to keep moisture from entering into the home. Same roof, saw one of those pipes coming out with no flashing. And underneath where that pipe is, where the water's going to go, was boom, right into the attic, right into the insulation. And then underneath that was the master closet. So all your clothes getting ruined by water entering. The sewer line. I've seen rags, bolts, gloves, diapers.
You were telling me some of those were new builds, huh? Like the
Yeah,
like
on the new build for
like
the
rags
rag and the
stuff?
bolt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was
crazy.
this was a duplex, and it was in Denver, and brand new build. PVC pipe, and for PVC pipe is just basically a lot of that white pipe that you see in your basement and stuff. That's a lot of times that's the sewer line, and I say PVC because you don't really want me to say polyvinyl chloride,
Yeah.
So
Just say the white pipe.
yeah, the white pipe,
The white plastic one.
yeah, the white plastic one, and you'll see purple on it from time to time. But in that one, I had dropped into, had entered into the sewer, like underneath the stairs. And I was in there for maybe 12 feet, probably about 3 feet down, and then 9 feet over. So I was still under the building. And, boom, I hit this rag, and then I hit this bolt. And turns out the bolt was sitting on the rag. So, odds are whoever was building there, that went down and thought, no, they'll never see it.
Someone got fired probably. They're like,
Yeah.
fuck these guys.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. When you smell that sewage, think of me, So seeing that was really odd. And, the solution there is, so, I hit it with a bunch of water as much as I could. And then on my sewer scope, I pushed the rag down as far as I could go. I got it from like 12 feet to maybe 30 feet down. Nothing was going to push that bolt. But really what has to happen at that point is the solution is to get somebody in there to hydrojet it. And what that means is, when you go to the car wash and you're going to wash your vehicle by hand and you have that spray wand. So that wand, just imagine it for the hydrojet where you've got 6 of those heads. So it's
Like
going to
pointing out, I'm guessing out
yeah,
each to the pipe.
to the top, straight out to the bottom, and then it also has water back here to help push it along, almost like how a rocket has the turbines and the jets right there. I forget what they call them, but it pushes it and helps it along the way. So that's how you're going to get that out of there, and you're going to end up pushing it to the main sewer line. During training, I saw grout in a line. And then people get really colorful with electrical. The ones that were just flat out odd were taking because when you look at outlets, generally they're going to have those 3 prongs, right, to put them in, and one of them's the ground. Well, a lot of homes, before they went to the 3 prong, you just had the 2 prong, and folks will try to ground that out. And so, take a wire out of there and then put electrical tape to a window to it was something that we saw.
Wow.
To try to ground it out. So then that way they could, put an adapter in there or something.
To like a window?
Yeah. Yeah. So the wire came out of the outlet, went to a window, and then it was glued and taped to the metal window part and to the frame.
Yeah.
And they were trying to ground it out like that. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen.
And you pass inspection, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like that's a safety hazard. That will show up in red, and that's like super dangerous. The other thing too, now that we're talking about electrical, is when you have an outlet, and that's called like a bank box, so to speak. But when you have an outlet in a wall, generally that's mounted so it won't come out. And I've seen where my mentor, Kyle, I'd mentioned earlier, he was on an inspection, and it was this home that was a $1 million flip, and something crazy. The price is $1 million. The flip wasn't $1 million, but goes and tests the GFCI on it, pulls back on his tester, and then like the whole thing comes out of the wall.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And we're just like that. No, no.
That's crazy.
Don't rush with that. You don't need to get in a hurry. Make sure it's supposed to stay in the wall.
That's funny.
So in your experience, have you noticed that like some new builds have more problems just because there's like builders trying to get them out so quick? Or does it kind of just vary?
Well, it varies, but some of the things with the new builds, there's a lot of really great builders that are out there, and they're tremendous at what they do, especially when you start getting into some of those folks that just do custom homes, and there's like, no stone unturned. And I've chatted with a few of those folks, and they're just really on top of it. When you start getting into things where it's okay, we got to build it fast, get somebody in there, then we're on to the next. That's where you start to run into some of those things. So like when I was talking about the thing that I found on the roof with the flashing, and then shingle that was pointing up because of the flashing, I ended up pulling probably about, I want to say it was maybe 15 to 20 shingle nails that were just lying around on there.
Really?
So those are going to go into the drainage system for the sewer, or for the gutters.
Huh.
Yeah, and then that'll end up clogging them. One of the gutter braces was off of the gutter, so that would ended up being loose. So I'll see a lot of that on the new builds, or maybe a few electrical things on the new builds, but for the most part, they're really sound. Not nothing too crazy. So it just kind of depends. When you've got some of those older homes, if they have been renovated and they've found like a really good architect and outfit, and where they have a lot of in-house stuff. I mean, those folks, they do a really good job. But like a lot of the older homes, especially the ones that I've been in, where they haven't done any upgrades and they were built in the 50s, you might have asbestos floor tiles. You may go into the attic and have this stuff that's insulation, but it's called vermiculite, and that has asbestos. So then now you're just, okay, I got to get out of the attic.
Yeah.
And then we need to note this right away. And I didn't touch it and disturb it, so it's airborne. And so those older homes like that, you have to be really cautious and aware. Does that help?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, that's great. So where could people find you or get in contact with you if they need something?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm at ColoradoPriorityHomeInspection.com. I know it's a mouthful, but we'll be sure to have a good link for you. And then 720-925-1725 is my number to get a hold of me. And then it's Brian at ColoradoPriorityHomeInspection.com. Available, travel. I've done a home inspection as far away as St. Francis, Kansas. So, in another time zone. But yeah, I would love to help folks get out there, get what they need to. And then on top of it, go through the home inspection with them. And I generally encourage people to attend. And so that way, my whole goal is that more about the home than the seller does. If I've done a good job, then you do, and you'll feel confident.
Yeah. Yeah, so guys, if you guys need a home inspection, if you're going to sell a home or if you're going to be buying a home, make sure you get a home inspector. And we recommend Brian here. He's pretty well educated in what he's talking about and what he knows. So you want the ball in your court when you're going through that process. So for sure it's something to take into account for. What do you got, Eric?
No, yeah, that's everything's good. Like even when we were outside, just go like walking, just doing like little mini inspection, I guess you could say. Like I didn't know anything, but then I learned a lot just from listening to you to talk about stuff, and then you kind of like teaching us about it too.
So,
like as you're
you don't need a license. You don't need a license, Eric. So now you're a home inspector. Now there you go.
Yeah,
Your
that's true. Well,
fallback.
you don't need one in Colorado anyway. So
Yeah, if you go sideways with this guy,
Yeah, there you
then
go.
yeah, that's true. True. No, yeah, but appreciate you coming on the podcast, taking time out of your day to
Absolutely.
to come out here.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys big time for doing this, and just love what you guys are doing, and how you're getting out there and helping folks. And I forget what making your vision a reality.
Make your vision a reality.
You guys are definitely doing that, so I sincerely appreciate it, and thank you guys for your time.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. And remember, guys, there's a fee. The fee is share the show with another person if it brought you value, if it brought you anything positive. If you think somebody else should listen to something like this, just share it with another person. That's all. That's all we ask, so we can be bringing you guys a more great, important guests like we had today.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it any better. Like you said, if you learn something, just share it with a friend. Or if you know someone who needs it, share it with them. Just that simple. And I'll just leave you guys with our quote here on the podcast. An act of rebellion is to question.
Okay. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated.